Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. This is a match that I actually caught live just recently and I knew I had to show it off as soon as I finished watching it. It's a banger, but I will give you a little bit of a warning. It gets a little toxic in the middle there, so keep your hats on for that. And let's get right into this match. Spawning on the southern side of Rosetta, a very peculiar map with a very important metal extractor we'll get to in just a moment, as the blue team Cortex commander is going to be none other than Carlson. Carlson hailing with 35 true skill and not quite silver chevrons yet, but just the peaking tail of a silver chevron. Getting ready to show us exactly what he's got out here on the southern sides of this very, very metal dense map, all the way in the middle of the map, playing as, well, the leader and also in probably what I would consider to be the leader's position right here. It's none other than Snoopa. Snoopa playing as an Armada commander and going to be going for that very valuable 10.0 metal extractor right there. Obviously, that 10.0 metal extractor is super valuable. Whichever commander holds possession of this, and especially once this goes up to T2, mind you, whichever commander holds possession of this ends up usually dictating the pace of this game. So it's really important to see you bring your A game, especially when concerned with contesting this central island available to both of these teams. It's going to be IM Legion here, trying to hold down the metal extractor here, building a little solar panel wall, little solar panel LLT wall over here. All right, I quite like it. Some anti-tick, anti-grunt, anti-pawn defense here, trying to make sure that no pesky rodents will run their way through. Yeah, we are going to commit to the defense here, the defensive wall off. I wouldn't even mind. Usually this is a bit overkill, but I wouldn't even mind in this particular example, this very specific case, building a bunch of walls around the metal extractor. I know we hardly ever see that because, well, frankly speaking, it's oftentimes just wasted effort, right? You put those walls down and most units, especially in T2, of course, but even most in T1, can shoot over those walls at some level, killing whatever's protected behind them. But suffice it to say that early on, tick snipes this 10.0 metal extractor can be super brutal to play against because it is essentially your entire economy. There's usually two metal extractors back here. Looks like the red commander only went for one, but that is essentially your entire early game economy is this single metal extractor. We're gonna go for vehicles here for IM Legion. Plenty of solar panels as well. We're completing the wall off, I guess you could say. Making more solar panels over here, going for a constructor and then into a couple of incisors. We've already got a battle across the field though. Incisors for the powder blue commander, WTFer. Going to be going up against Bika, the powder pink commander. Incisors making short work of all of those grunts that are being pumped out right here by the pink commander. Trying to spam out as many of those little Cortex soldiers to the front lines as possible, but they need to take a really efficient fight here. Otherwise, the vehicles are going to continue to scale out of control. One incisor goes down. This fight is still looking really nice for those light tanks. Light tanks, a hilarious play on words, as they fire their little light laser beam. Oh, nice catch right here. Very nice snipe right there from the purple commander. Manages to find a resbot that was sent out as well, shutting that down. There's a little bit of metal to reclaim around the map, but also, of course, just reclaiming the wreckages here are going to be super impactful. Incisors finding the commander there. D-guns will cleave apart the most of them. Oh, hello, Dusty. That's my dog. Trying to break in. Bika here trying to thwart the incisors right here. And doing a great job of it. Yeah, actually those D-guns clear out most of them, and the remaining grunts do eventually push all that back. Was that aggression valuable? Well, it stalled out essentially all of the metal right here for the hot pink commander. Or the powder pink commander, pardon me. Pawns on the run by over here. Take down some metal extractors. Don't quite kill the constructor, although I think they probably could have. They just were slacking on APM there. Janus will make very, very quick work of those two lingering pests in the back line, though. And we do also have a rover in the back right here for Superlux. All said and done, feels like the red team is really bringing their A game. They're out here on the field. They really want this win a lot more than the blue team does. Feels like the blue team's just a little bit slower to get everything out there, rolling out to the front. So we've got those medium tanks making their way forwards right now, and those are, of course, a little bit slower to produce, a little bit slower to build, a little bit slower on every face, except for when it's wide open terrain. So going over the hills and whatnot, they're going to struggle, but at least while we're fighting out in the open terrain here, those medium tanks should have a stupendous advantage. Bots offering you extreme mobility as well as, of course, the benefit of res bots, which is easy to understate. They're incredibly, incredibly important. Medium tank. Oh, 2 for 1 right there with that shot from the medium tank. Manages to take down two of those blitzes before any damage gets done, but still one of them gets away here. I think the powder blue commander was busy microing on the front line there. Snoopa with some killer D-guns takes down 2 more of those medium tanks. Blitz makes it into the back. This is dangerous. One blitz, but how much damage can it do? Well, a whole lot is the answer. One metal extractor down. Two metal extractors down. Will we get a third? We sure will. That's going to be 3 metal extractors down. No reason this has to be done yet either. Okay, we're going to dive south here. I think going north probably would have been a little bit more efficient here. Medium tanks. Medium tanks and Janus jumping on top of a mace and a constructor over here. More than capable of blasting those to smithereens. Blitz runs at APM over there on the right-hand side, but we do have a little bit of aggression now as the aggravator, so finally made it to the fronts, now firing away at all these medium tanks here. Medium tanks very difficult to deal with once they ball up into sufficient numbers, so dealing with them early is key. Early game aggression is going to be the name of the game right here to shut down WTF from getting too much progress out on the front lines here. Snoopa going very aggressively into solar panels here, going for that consistent energy production over anything else. Don't mind it because we have so much metal in the bank to spend, but of course, every solar panel is quite a hefty investment, an investment that could be units out on the field. It's an important trade-off to consider. Rocketeers en masse going to be spammed out right here for the Red Commander. Trying to find the right balance between firepower and mobility here, and the Rocketeer seems to be the answer. Stepping forward to try and clear away some of these LLTs. We need scouts in front to try and detect all that, or some more radar towers. The radar tower creep is a certainly viable strategy. Rockets phasing through the missile trucks right there of the Cyan Blue Commander I Am Legion. And we continue to try and fire away at these LLTs. Our own LLTs here for the Red Commander getting in the way, making it very difficult for the for the activators to hit this thing. My goodness, they really are trying their very best. There they go. Finally, a volley of rockets manages to take down that LLT, opening up the line a little bit here. Very tricky indeed. Big old battle right here on the front lines between Pink General and Milquetoast. Both doing their very darndest to try and hold on to this front line, but yep, that pop-up turret is spotted right here by Pink General. Very close to completion, but it is going to cost Pink General quite a lot of HP on the commander. Pop-up turret finishes, sticks its head above those walls right there and starts blasting away at anything that it can. It's going to be a nice tool for area denial right here for the meantime. Certainly not a permanent solution, but definitely an effective one if it can manage to fire on units that stumble into range over here. Oh, Janus getting some nice connections against the green army of Occulted over here. Ixo Sticky going up against Occulted, the green commander versus the tan. Those Janus, well, that single Janus is essentially the threat that the green player has in order not to push here. You push into my army, you lose a whole bunch of yours, is effectively what that Janus is saying. Pounder tanks come up to try and deal with this big swarm of units marching forward. It's the perfect unit for it, but there is just enough pawns to push through here. Maybe just barely. You know what? Cleaned up really nicely. Very, very close call right there, but even the hero LLT from the early game managing to come in clutch. T2 Constructor, of course, handed off immediately to get this metal extractor up and running. 40 metal per second for whosoever owns that metal extractor on the rainbow-colored patch of Bismuth Metal. It's not Bismuth Valley, but it is Bismuth Metal, and you can see that it is quite valuable indeed. 40 metal per second. That's a 2-to-1 metal-to-energy ratio, which is unheard of in the game of Beyond All Reason. Efficiencies like that are never long-lasting. They either win the game or get sniped into oblivion. LLTs. Cementing that northern side. Medium tanks don't have much to fear from LLTs, but of course you don't want to stay parked under the firing range of them. Southern side, looking quite tremendous for Super Lux. Gaikon trying to hold the line right here. These are Dragon's Claw pop-up turrets, so they are actually quite dangerous. Ooh. Janus is just as dangerous, though. Gaikon taking a lot of damage. Super Lux taking a fair amount, too, though. 44% for the yellow commander and 50% for the purple commander. Not bad whatsoever, but certainly on the fringe of danger right now. If these units move forward, if they fire all their missiles into this lightning turret, it will go down. Shell Shocker's here to lay on the pressure. Super Lux looking to collapse this purple economy immediately. A little bit of aggression through this northern side. 1 or 2 medium tanks could completely crumble all of these metal extractors. The construction turrets, the light laser turrets, all that stuff. Probably could kill a couple metal extractors here for the blue player as well. Who, oh, this is interesting. These metal extractors should probably go over to the powder blue commander, but I guess didn't claim them or didn't reclaim them one way or the other, but there we go. Not that the blue commander WTF really needs it, though. These medium tanks are doing wonderful work on the front lines here. losing virtually no tanks for 5 or 6 rocket bots right there. Definitely feels wonderful. This is the point in the game where you've really start to let those vehicles spiral out of control, and there's not a whole lot that you can do. T2 transition right here for the red commander, who's using that handy metal extractor in order to funnel this. We've got some advanced solar panels up and running as well to power everything, and we've got some Centurion on the front line. I actually really like the inclusion of the Centurion here. Just an excellent barricade to stop any units from marching forward. That's exactly what they're meant for. They're an anti-spam, anti-infantry unit. They're meant for, well, they're actually fairly decent against tanks because of their extended range, but they are essentially meant against big balls of units marching forward. They can usually trade out very, very efficiently. Sharpshooter going to be the name of the game here. That's a very energy-dense unit, so I'm surprised to see it, but I guess we don't have enough build power to really e-stall everything too terribly. You can see dumping 1,700 metal into this sharpshooter to get it out on the front line. But as long as it's firing away, it is going to be getting tremendous value. We finally put some hounds on the field as well. I think hounds make a lot of sense here. Very easy to spam, very cheap as far as T2 is concerned anyway. Should be quite easy. There we go. Sharpshooter now starting to fire away. Does it have vision or any kind of line of sight? Looks like it must have radar vision here. A little bit of line of sight here too. That radar bot providing quite a bit. There we go. It fires not quick, but it fires with a power unmatched in caliber. Hounds blasting away whatever they can coming out of the lab here as well. Medium tanks force back, and that's exactly what the Centurion are good for. If they're in the right spot, if they're in the right place, it's very difficult to find an efficient fight against them. Their lasers fire so quickly and with so much accuracy, they really, really do shut down pushes like it's nobody's business. Baika's frontline heavy laser tower was just a little too far forward, and it means that it won't be hold on-toable. Is that a word? It's a word now. Yeah, just like that, these tanks have overwhelmed the forces over here. Suddenly, we find ourselves in a terrible position. The pink commander and, well, basically the entire southern side here. Yeah, medium tanks on a tear. Quite healthy and heading into the backline, and that really is the biggest problem with the medium tanks. With shutting down a big ball of medium tanks, they have so much HP, even just for T1. It's nearly impossible to shut them down before they make it to the backline and do a serious amount of damage. This, of course, means the front line is fairly open as well, but Baika is going to be well distracted trying to deal with all this. No support from the air player here, as we are a Armada commander. We could go for an EMP bomber, but those have been significantly increased in cost, so they're not the catch-all solution to every run-by that ever happened anymore like they once were. They are now a much more precise tool of, well, tool of war, I want to say. They're more of a cleanup tool of anything. You have to use them much more sparingly is what I do mean, though. Loads of damage right here to the pink base. Loads of advanced metal extractors falling. We do have a single construction turret remaining, so at the very least, we'll be able to rebuild here. Pink commander sending reinforcements in that direction. A couple of those Jaguar tanks eventually do the most to clean up all of that, and some roughnecks are what those are called. The gunships here, the Armada T2 gunships, are going to make their way out to the field here as well. A full-blown T2 Hound army available for Rage. WTF are forced offline right here as suddenly T2 has hit the battlefield. We're moving into that late early game, early mid game here. It all happens quick in the pro lobbies, and it happens even faster on a map like Rosetta. Hounds bring down the commander of the powder blue commander on the southern side here. Agitator will fall just about as easily. Resbot, of course, stands no chance. Metal extractor due to fall here just as well. Tons of metal available right there. That's basically 2 commanders worth of metal lying on the battlefield right there. Would love to see that eaten up by whosoever could get a Resbot into position here. Probably Baika, because he's got the T1 lab still. Nobody else has the T1 lab tech. Roughnecks to shoot down the army that was pushing forward over here for the purple commander. I love to see it. I mean, using those Roughnecks is great, but the T1 gunships, T1 fighters, pardon me, do shoot them out of the sky eventually. Thinning the number of these units over here, but was it really necessary? I don't really think so. Resbot will ultimately eat up most of this metal, and I would consider, for the large, vast majority, that was essentially a waste of gunships. Spybot's moving forward right here. Looking maybe to catch the army in blue. I am Legion here, trying to find an opening wherever they can. We have a bunch of sprinters available. I do remember sprinters making quite an appearance in this game, having quite an impact. I suppose that we will see shortly here how these sprinters are effective. One thing I'll say is that the sprinters certainly lend themselves nicely to providing vision for some of these other units to fire away here. Love to see the hounds in their projectile mode rather than their Gauss cannon mode. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the term for it, but anyway, they're high-speed projectile mode. A little more accurate, a little less damage. A trade-off that's exactly what you're looking for. Ooh, a nice spy-bot connection right there. A trade-off that's exactly what you're looking for when you need to counter, for instance, high-speed, fast-moving, high-damage units like sprinters, like fiends, like even grunts and pawns and other things like that. The base is in a lot of trouble here. Sprinters getting on top of the build power. Oh no, build power goes up just like that. There's no longer any build power to keep this base up and running. The blue commander trying to save his cyan friend right here. I'm going to switch into cinematic view as we watch the rest of this fight unfold. Fusion reactor remains intact, as well as the anti-nuke here on the lab still stays strong. We do have a Twitcher up and available, and that's going to be key. Twitchers can build power, which means that we could get this lab back up and running, but it's going to be a little bit of a time stall here for the cyan commander, who just has all the resources in the world and no way to properly, well and away spend them. Red commander retreats for now, going into a fusion reactor, an advanced fusion reactor in the backline here. Very low build power, but that also means we're not dumping an insane amount of resources, basically all of our resources, but not all of our resources. There's a little bit of energy left over and handed over to the teammates here. Big old hound battle. We do have our closest here as well. Those are excellent siege units. Perfect for blasting apart static defense, like, for instance, pop-up flamethrower turrets. Those flamethrower turrets do a tremendous amount of damage, but they certainly do become quite vulnerable at the T2 stage. Razorback out on the field, my goodness. 16 minutes into the game, and our first Razorback has hit the field right here for Rage, who's looking to get some damage done with it. Sending that Razorback across to try and snipe any of these T2 that it can. Of course, the first Razorback going up against the early T2 is going to be, early to mid-game T2 is going to be the most important here. Oh, we do have a commander. Pink General moving into position here, wants to intercept that Razorback desperately. It's basically the only efficient option here for shutting this Razorback down without it doing a huge amount of damage to the base. Oh, it turns in. Nice D-gun right there from Pink General. Beautifully done from the green commander. Certainly saving himself and the entire base right here with that very, very nice clean D-gun right there to the Razorback, allowing this base to properly stand for at least a little while longer. General still threatening. Oh, nice self-D. Nice micro right there on the Fiend. Blows the Fiend up right in the middle of all of those hounds right there, which is quite nice. Means, of course, that it won't do much damage. The spam has come up and running too. We have grunts now streaming across the battlefield to try and counter the spam of ticks coming across from Snoopa. Snoopa making a tech transition, using that T2 lab in order to fund the rest of this advanced fusion reactor, and then changing over to a T1 laboratory here in order to just go ahead and spam some ticks across the field, trying to help out his teammate in Pink Milquetoast here, hoping that we can save the day. A mass investment in sprinters right here. If you pay attention to the chat, you'll see that everybody and their mother was commenting about it, even me in this game when we were watching it. A confusing strategy to go for sprinters and only sprinters, but certainly if you manage to put them in the enemy backline, they can do tremendous work. Bika trying to get a T2 economy up and running. You can see the T2 constructor moving forward right here, skipping the 1.0 metal extractor that's quite funny, and instead prioritizing the ones that are going to be worth a little bit more. Not a bad idea. That's the green commander going down over here for Pink General. Twitcher's accidentally eating a little bit of that commander wreckage. Nicely done not to. You never know if your teammate might want to resurrect it or not, so best bet. Go ahead and leave it be on the battlefield. Unless they tell you to eat it up, and then, of course, you can just eat it up and, you know, pay it back. Demon's going to be the name of the game right here for Carlson. Putting some force out on the field right here in the form of those flamethrower mechs pumped out of that Cortex T3 gantry. We have lightning tanks in mass over here on the southern side, including some Mauser behind them as well for some firepower. Lovely stuff. These Rocketeer that have just been on a repeat command, as well as his maces over here, having a field day. Geothermal plasma battery over here, the Cerberus cannon, firing away as many times as it can. Well, 3 times per shot. Easy to underestimate these things, but they do a bizarre amount of damage. Ooh, landmines right there. Connecting in a big way with all the tanks. Oh, it scares them in the direction of more mines. Oh, no. You look at a connection like that and you just gotta wonder, how many more mines did the enemy put down? Am I constantly going to be running into mines? Is this entire area mined out? It's the kind of psychological warfare that has devastating effects. It can lead to cowardice en masse. Demon here to try and save the Cerberus. Ooh, Cerberus just barely lives. 8% HP left on that Cerberus. Mauser and Starlight forced into full retreat. No longer have their lightning tank wall in the front here. We actually have no production whatsoever for the yellow commander. Going heavily into eco here, scaring back the opposition and instead just going into eco. Gonna start up a whole bunch of static defense over here instead, actually. Just gonna pork this side, go into some economy, and hope that it's enough. We have Starlights coming out right here in the middle of the map as well. The red commander making a strong pivot into Armada T2 vehicles here. We're even going to go for a... Alright, that's rare. We're going to go into an EMB missile launcher. We hardly ever see those, but I do love to see them. They are a... What is that called? The Paralyzer. That's right. You can see the range on this thing is gigantic. It can actually, from this side of the map, hit the other Rosetta spot here. The other Rosetta Stone, you might even call it. The metal extractor. It's really quite a funny thing. Certainly there are opportunities, for instance, where you use one of these in order to shut down somebody's lab for a sustained amount of time, right? If you just keep this thing constantly firing, constantly repeat commanded directly into the lab, it will always have, well, paralyze it for an annoying amount of time. Nuclear bombers here to try and, oh, that one was just barely not charged. Nuclear bombers here to try and shut down the demons over here. It's actually a really good answer. Demons fairly thin in the armor plating as far as T3 goes. Nuki B backs off before the demon, and the fighter planes manage to shut it down. This one's headed towards the red base. We need that firepower. Nuclear bombers slacking right here. Spybot detonates right in front of the production center. Demon marches up the hill. Oh no, where did those nuclear bombers go? Here we go. One of them comes in to save the day. At this point, we're looking at friendly casualties no matter how we shut this thing down, so the nuclear bomber will have to be it. And eventually, an energy storage explosion will be what does it in. More and more units rushing the field right here, but shutting down that T2 production center is fabulous. Red commander now knocked out of the game at this point. No more constructors available, if I do see correctly. Oh no, we actually have a little hidden eco center back over in this section. Cheeky. Setting up little island eco centers all over the place to try and get things back up and running. Very nicely done. Does mean, of course, that if you lose one thing, you're not completely out of the game quite yet. Razorbacks finally up in mass, up to numbers, i.e. 2, in order to push back some of the forces over here. They do have to be careful. These fighters flying over those Razorbacks, they are technically capable of shooting up into the sky. Not maybe their most efficient way of fighting, but it is certainly one of their capabilities. Demon marching forward here. Not sure that's exactly the fight that we want. 1-to-1, a demon does beat a Razorback, but it's not 1-to-1. It's 1 versus 3 right here. We will kill one of the Razorbacks. The second one, though, will finish the job. And we trade a demon for a Razorback. Not a very efficient trade right there for the blue commander on the front lines. Resbots galore marching forward now to try and reclaim as much of this map as possible. Trying to pick up as much of this as we can and put it back into the hands of the red team. Sprinter's having a terrible time against the Mammoth over here on the northern side. This base has been ran through and devastated over here for the Tan Commander, who's trying desperately to get back into the game, but for the time being is certainly on the back foot here. Gonna need some stimulation from the teammates here, either in the form of wind turbines or maybe a solar panel or something like that in order to help get the economy back up and running right now, because as it stands, Ixo Sticky is rebuilding from virtually nothing. Nice EMP Razorbot paralysis over here. Spybot paralyzing the Razorback is what I was trying to say, all in one word. Another Razorback marching forward. This one shut down by the Razorback and the Tick Swarm, though. Mass demons to counter them. Going to be fairly effective here. Yeah, Razorback just running to its doom. Not my favorite thing in the world. Those Razorbacks are quite powerful. They have quite a lot of DPS, and they solve a lot of issues on the field that everybody wants cleaned up, right? They can deal with spam, they can deal with air units, they can deal with basically everything. They're a jack of all trades, which is why losing them is so painful. At this point, the blue economy is looking fabulous. We're continuing to expand here as well. We've got some Junos coming up, another Aphis, and we're continuing the demon production. 6,000 metal apiece for one of those demons, so not cheap by any measure. Starlight's here having a great time, actually, blasting away at these demons. At 10% per volley, not bad. There's a couple of them firing, though, so less than that per single shot. Cerberus Cannon struggling to keep up with the fast-paced ticks over here as that swarm starts to move forward. It's going to open up new opportunities for siege units to move forward. Like, for instance, the Starlight. Northern side. Still making sprinters. Sprinters en masse, and I think the sharpshooters are going to be really the name of the game here. Mammoths, of course, suffering greatly from sharpshooters because they're slow, they don't really turn very quickly, they kind of suffer all the things that sharpshooters are good at countering. And just like that, the sprinters pulled on top of everything and melted almost instantaneously here, but at the very least providing some nice vision for the sharpshooters to fire away. Rattlesnake melts away as well. The jammer bot stays up and running, turning its little handle to keep everything nice and covered by jamming fields, only for it to be revealed here by line of sight, of course. Here we go, sharpshooter able to dismantle that entire front line in moments. Now being beset upon by a bunch of rocket spiders, never a comfortable moment. Sharpshooters with silver chevrons is exactly what we like to see. Every time a sharpshooter clicks its gun, it should get a kill, and you should try and keep them alive as many as possible. They snowball extremely potently. Massive swarm moving forward, my goodness. The red base right here, overwhelmed by a flow of grunts, razorbacks, demons, all the rest of it that's been resurrected from the front lines and sent forward to cause as much devastation as possible. Nuclear bombers trying to clean up all the rest of it. A self-destructing man has been issued right here to the nuclear fusion reactor, and boom it goes, blowing apart all of those grunts right here and taking out quite a few of the hit points on the razorback here. Not killing it quite yet, though. Demons still marching into the base. We need some sort of answer to this. This hurts quite a lot. Suddenly the middle of the map is completely opened up and everyone is forced to move northward. We have the Tix Man moving forward here as well to try and stem some of the bleeding. The AA trucks firing away at all of the gunships right now. This demon is tearing apart the pink base right now. Red team in shambles as suddenly the middle of the map has collapsed and there's no alternative options for cleaning any of this up. No convenient options. It's just going to be mass sprinters sent to their doom. But eventually we do end up cleaning this push up. My goodness. An extremely, extremely close call. Penguin here, having a little battle. Unaware of the D-gun perhaps and trying to laser that down, but eventually self-destruct command will clean all that up. And we've got an entire base ripe and ready for the resurrection. Actually, most of this base up and standing here. Hardly any of it was turned to rubble. Couple things here and there, but the fusion reactors stand, the T2 lab stands, some of the defenses and the advanced metal extractors as well. Means getting resbots up there makes a whole lot of sense. Meanwhile, the Starlights have burned away. Most of them depleted now. The Cerberus cannon still providing immense value. Its ability to fire away is just unbelievable. Tearing apart even some of these siege units before they even have a chance of firing away. It's somewhere between an LRPC and a regular long-range plasma cannon, something like a rattlesnake or a persecutor. Super high damage, super high fire rate, but of course, extremely limited in the fact that it can only be activated on a geothermal. Pitbull here now firing away. Pitbulls, plural. Firing in every which direction, trying to take out as many of these demons as possible. Demons sensing that there's a lot of static defense down there. Instead, moving across. Oh, we've got a spy tank over here. That's quite cheeky. All right, little spy tank action, firing away at the constructor and the geothermal over on this side. Still though, demons causing loads of issues right now. Burning down the sumos over here that were the line of defense that the red team was hoping for. Red commander resurrects the Amex over here on here. 40 metal per second. Definitely wants it. More sprinters continuing to be pumped out here. Razorbacks blasting apart the spam wave over here. It's your ideal circumstance parking a Razorback in front of a whole bunch of spam. One Razorback can hold off a ridiculous amount of spam coming in their direction. Probably 2 to 3 laps of spam they can handle. Fully funded, full speed spam. Laser giraffes firing away with their pencil necks, trying to connect that pulsar beam with whatever they can find over in the distance. Demons right here, thinking about whether they should commit to this fight or not. Essentially just being used as a barricade to make sure that nothing pushes forward. Tactical nuke is launched right here. Boom, connects with a whole bunch of fiends. Maybe not the most efficient connection right there, but certainly nice to scare back some of these units. Suffice it to say. Pawns running forward and providing the vision needed. those Starlights in order to fire. Sneaky Tank did eventually kill the geothermal over here as well, which is quite nice. There we go. Finally cleaned up by some pit bulls. Very lovely stuff. Razorback's trying to break this line over here. Again, the Cerberus is getting so much value, though. 49 kills on that Cerberus. 2 copper chevrons as well. It's quite important. Quite powerful. Demons pushing into the Starlights right here. Another wave of Starlights burned down by the Demons. Demons have just enough speed in order to make that fight efficient. Most units get pulled apart. Units extremely clumped up right here. Oh no. Units absurdly clumped up right here. Oh no, all of those transports going down right here because they were clumped up in the air. Meanwhile, the stealth tanks here. Apparently trying to sneak on by, accidentally revealing themselves. Are we sneaky beaky like? Demons continuing the threat. Red Demon has been resurrected, being used as defense up here on the high ground here. Red Metal Extractor will be cleared out at this point, but the economy is still looking fabulous. We've got these Aphuses building in the backline right now. We've got the Demon 2 thwart the T1 push coming across the map. Demon's quite good at that. They do have that AoE effect, so if the spam is not spread out properly, they certainly can melt it to pieces. Resbots all over the place, picking things up though. Lovely, lovely stuff. Nuclear bomber in the air, trying to shoot down whatever he can. Fighters are pulled though to try and shut it down. Very nice control from the air players here. The brown player on top of it with the nuclear bombers, saving the team once and again. Every single available opportunity. These stealth tanks are having a little gym jamboree. The blue team now with a solid hold over this match. Economically speaking, ahead by a couple hundred metal per second. As far as energy goes, though, the red team is in the lead by about 18,000 energy per second. Energy not directly translating to wealth, but once you build the energy economy, it scales exponentially. Whereas if your economy is essentially entirely made up of metal extractors, there's only so far you can expand it. It's one thing to keep in mind when you start to see that energy difference between the two teams. It means one is about to take off like a rocket, and the other one is not quite so far into the economic scaling game yet. Demon's still holding strong over here. The last bastion of flame and destruction for the red team on the middle of the map right now. Blue team definitely feeling comfortable with this T2 metal extractor taken down, but at this point, 40 metal per second. Relatively little in the face of the hundreds and hundreds of metal per second coming into these late game T3 economies. Resbots now just told to eat up whatever they can right here. They need only eat for about a second or two before they reclaim their own wave's worth of metal. Even though we lost all of them, it was still an efficient reclamation order right there. Spybots have been well dealt with over here on the left-hand side, cleaned up quite nicely. Now the pawn spam is moving northward. We've mixed in some sharpshooters. We've gone for 2 T2 labs here. Interesting. 2 T2 labs in order to pump out sprinters and sharpshooters simultaneously. Commander goes down right here in hot pink. That's milk toast falling to the ground. Sharpshooters, though, to blast away the demon. Lovely, lovely stuff. The perfect counter to the demon. Snipe it from afar. Let not those flaming wreaths engulf you in their treacherous heat. Love the little graphic on the sharpshooter as well. Their little sharpshooter laser pointer indicator. It's quite awesome. Very nice. Sharpshooters overkilling virtually everything that they can. Spybot sees all the Sheldon moving forward here. EMP, EMP, EMP. No EMP from the Spybot right there. Starlight's up on this hill to try and hold it, and they are, well, they'd be sufficient if they were facing in the right direction. Oh no. Spybot's just not paying, or pardon me, Starlight's not quite paying attention right there. Having a rough time trying to hold on to this. A nuclear bomber coming in to save the day, though. Last shot from that Starlight will kill the Razorback. Quite good. Love the nuclear bombers right here from Penguin. Penguin definitely doing the most right here with those sharpshooters. Another big wave of Starlights has been built up right here. It's a slow but steady increasing ball of Starlights, but as long as they're building in number, then they're rapidly scaling in power. T3 production from the high ground right here. Very confident of I Am Legion, who's got a fabulous economy in the backline, by the way. Going up to multiple APHIS, multiple E-Converter, all that good stuff, ready to start spamming out T3 as quick as possible. Similarly, though, for Snoopa, despite not having the high ground metal extractor, still possessing vastly the capabilities of producing T3 and T2 simultaneously. Trying to get Razorbacks out on the field. We've already got a sharpshooter ball with welder support in front as well. Very expensive, but very effective. Northern side looking troubling for the red team. Tank commander without essentially the units to protect themselves. We do have those more and more Starlights coming out here. It's the right answer, but we just don't have enough of them yet. There's already mammoths marching towards the base over here. Sharpshooters blasting away at whatever they can. I think it's effectively the right answer. Starlight's so good at blasting apart those single heavy targets. Mammoth, obviously, but even some of the T3 units, Juggernauts, Titans, Karganath, all that sort of thing. Sprinters used like ticks here. An expensive ticks, certainly, but if it gets the job done, then it gets the job done, and they certainly are right now getting the work in. There we go. Mammoths blasted apart. A little bit of an APM stall there, it feels like. Yeah, I think if Occulted had moved those mammoths forward, they probably could have killed large portions of the base, but instead they effectively achieved nothing. My goodness, what happened here? Hold on, I'm gonna go back. Alright, we backed off just a minute here, just in time to watch this battle happen. The mammoths are still dying up there on the northern side, right as the demons are marching forward. A beautiful concave from the Starlights right here. Blast apart these demons. My goodness. What a beautiful, beautiful trade right there for Supalux. That's the connection that he's been hoping for this entire time with these Starlights. Every single time the demons have came in from the right angle and at the right time, at the right speed, just before the snowball was big enough. Finally, the snowball is large enough in the yellow favor to blast apart those T3 before they can do very much whatsoever. Oh yeah, when I was watching, apparently, commentating in my head right now, as Legion ends up losing so many demons. Putting those Starlights on the front line here, using them to take down that T3 and deploying a massive amount of metal directly into the hands right here of the red team. A very, very efficient trade, an extremely efficient trade for those pencil-neck laser giraffes to take. Nuclear bombers heading down south here, looking for targets, finding none. Oh my goodness, the geothermal still stands. I can't believe it. The bulwarks went down, everything else has collapsed, and all that remains is a single geothermal plasma battery. The Cerberus remains firing full steam ahead. Unbelievable that that thing has survived this entire game. Probably the most stable structure in this entire match so far. 10.0 metal extractor has never been reclaimed, unfortunately here. Not that it even matters at this point, but you know, why not go for 300, basically 400 metal per second instead of 360 metal per second? You know what I mean? I can't get over how good that Starlight connection was. Looks like the Purple Commander has realized how cool those Starlights are and has instead decided to deploy them themselves. Beamer turrets up here as well to shut down the spam. We don't have full coverage though on those beamer turrets. They do wonderful work, but they do need to be set up in the right spot at the right time, of course. That's the catch with static defense, is it doesn't move very well. Yeah, they're not very mobile, and so what that means, you know, beamer turrets, infamously Nostradamusable, but without a whole bunch of transports to carry them to the other side of the map and plop them in the enemy economy, they do tend to stay in the same spot quite frequently, quite consistently, I would say. Starlight trying to deal with Thors. Thors have thick enough armor plating, though, that they don't care too much for it. EMP missiles used right here, at the very least. Going to catch a couple of them. One of them. Pimples here, blasting apart the Thors. Geothermal trying its very best as well, but we finally have enough army to break through this side. Break through this side. Okay, apparently we're changing directions here. The geothermal will live. It has been selected. It has been ordained to be the survivor of this attack right here. I'm just waiting for the moment it dies, but it just won't. Demons forced southward at this point. Means this front line is much less protected. Sharpshooters up north still getting a tremendous amount of value here. Thor is finding value wherever they can as well. Oh, there we go. We're going to paralyze the geothermal, it looks like. Nicely done. Those Starburst EMP missiles, quite powerful. Paralyzing things for about 12 seconds. Not bad. Thor cannons also good enough to actually paralyze... to damage most T3. Up until you start dealing with Titans and Juggernauts and that caliber of unit. They really are quite good. Still though, awash in flames, any unit will fall. 2 demons down right there for 1. The Cerberus still stands. And the demons, well, you know what? They've been dealt with. I thought they had a push going right there, but I guess they petered out. Yeah, those Thor cannons, like I was just saying, very, very strong. Starlight's firing away in the background as well. Let's see, I was still doubting how this thing could even be alive. And the red team has completely turned this around. Razorbacks now marching forward in tandem here. Washing out the Cyan Commander with their laser cannons mounted atop each arm. Blasting apart catapults, which is always a lovely trade right here. One of them finds, well, a couple of them find the build power. Popping all of that, shutting down this T3 production facility means, of course, that no more of those juicy T3 units will hit the field. Demon's trying its best to stop all of this, but the fusions will pop. And the Razorbacks aren't quite done yet. Into the direct economy right here of the Cyan Commander. We have Bulwark coming up and running right here. It'll be blasted apart. Build power collapses. Means no more will that Bulwark come up to speed right here. E-converters pop and it chain reacts the aphises, and just like that, I Am Legion loses everything in a flash of laser power. Carlson holding the line right here. It's a mess of Thors and demons and bodies of all shapes and sizes lying on the battlefield, but it does not matter, as finally, with the Thor power, the red team has managed to break through, crippling and collapsing multiple different economies all at once. Blue player still holding the line, spamming out grunts all over the place, still with the demons as well. Nice EMP right there, connects on one of those demons, cutting the firepower in half right there. Very epic to see, and indeed, Thor's obviously immune to EMP, so it means that these abductors won't have any say against their effectiveness. Wow, Thors do so much damage against demons right there. I'm curious to see what it is in total. No, we won't see. Aphis is the main target. E-converters pop, chain reacting into the build power here. Demons finally managed to burn that down, but now forces are moving into the base of the purple commander as well. Pawns running on by. And indeed, the red team, in a groundbreaking movement, manages to turn this match on its head with some very, very beautiful trades, some wonderful eco-scaling, and eventually a magnificent push through the southern sides and into the blue team. What a lovely matchup beyond all reason. Thanks a ton for watching. I sure hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like or a dislike. We actually figured out that doesn't really matter. Hit either of those buttons if you feel like supporting me. And of course, feel free to subscribe to the channel down below if you haven't already. There's also some Discord channels that are very popular among the Beyond All Reason community. There's mine, and there's also the official Discord channel, both of which will have a link in the description. And on top of all that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next match of Beyond All Reason.